At this time, we will reconvene the meeting. Mr. Elijah Guillory was called away, so I will be chair for the remainder of this meeting. Item 11, take appropriate action on case EX 04-009-16, a request by Ricky Tomasi, LLC, for an exception to allow a borrow pit 30 acres in the 4400 block of East Prion Lake Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Navarre.
Second.
A second by Ms. Dickerson. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in East Lake Charles and encompasses 52 acres of agricultural and light industrial zone land. If approved, 80% of the dirt would be removed from the site. Upon completion, the pit will be partially backfilled with uncontaminated earthen materials, which is allowable under DEQ regulations. Because the surrounding land uses are residential and agricultural and minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development must be in accordance with Section 26-122 1F4 of the Parish Code of Ordinances, and that permitting is subject to approval from the Division of Engineering.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. If the applicant is present and you would like to speak on your behalf, you may come to the podium at this time. Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Ricky Tomasi, 7124 Cabina, Lake Charles.
Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Just-
Okay. It's not required that you come up and speak, but if you had something you wanted
It's
to
an
add.
existing pit and it's operating.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments by the board? Okay. Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 11 passes. Item 12, take appropriate action on case EX 04-011-16, a request by Denise Church Matthews for an exception to allow a borrow pit 6.3 acres at 1633 West Burton Street in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulation.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brown and a second by Ms. Cobb. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located west of Sulphur and encompasses 44 acres of agricultural zone land. If approved, 80% of the dirt would be removed from the site. Upon completion, the pit would be used as a personal use pond. Because the surrounding land uses are residential and agricultural and minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the stipulation that the development must be in accordance with Section 26-122 1F4 of the Parish Code of Ordinances.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. If the applicant is present and you would like to speak on your behalf, you may come to the podium at this time. Okay. Any questions or comments by the board? Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 12 passes. Item 13, take appropriate action on case EX 04-018-16, a request by Joe Savoy for an exception to allow residential development of manufactured home at 816 Baghdad Road in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Brown. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Westlake area and encompasses 4 acres of single-family residential zone land. Currently on the lot is the petitioner's home, which is on the north side of Baghdad Road, and a boat slip on the south side of the road. The petitioners would like to sell the entire lot and existing home to their son and then locate a 26-foot by 56-foot manufactured home near the boat slip. The manufactured home would serve as the petitioner's residence. Once placed on site, the home would be landscaped and an attached garage would be constructed. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans, and that the manufactured home be skirted prior to utilities being connected.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. If the applicant is present and you would like to add to the staff's presentation,
May I just defer in case there's any opposition?
you do not have to speak. Yes, sir. We have a blue card that's, it seems like they're in favor. Mr. or Mrs. Pat Bennett?
I will waive my time if there's no opposition.
Okay. Yeah, we do not have any blue cards. Any questions or comments by the board? All right, seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 13 passes. Item 14, take appropriate action on case EX04-019-16, a request by North Bay Properties LLC for an exception to allow residential development, temporary workforce housing facility at 2926 Highway 90 West in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with stipulations. Motion by Coach Williams and a second by Mr. Navarre. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located west of Sulphur and encompasses 32 acres of light industrial zone land. If you recall, 28 of the 32 acres was rezoned last month in order to facilitate this exception request. If the exception is approved, North Bay and their partner, Target Logistics, will construct a workforce housing facility at this location. The facility will have approximately 950 beds within just over 200 four-person and five-person buildings. The facility will also have a recreation building, an office, reception area, a coin-operated laundry, a commercial laundry, and approximately 1,200 aggregate parking spaces. The proposed development will provide a consolidated location for workforce housing that will minimize the impacts of the construction phase of industrial expansion in the area. This housing facility will increase efficiency of vehicle traffic. This type of housing is a sustainable solution for the parish because it will have minimal impact on the project site and it will prevent overbuilding of more permanent housing structures. Because the development will be temporary, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans, that a drainage impact analysis and a traffic impact analysis must be submitted and approved by the Division of Planning and the Division of Engineering prior to permit issuance, that the rezoning is for North Bay Properties and is non-transferable, that a landscape plan must be submitted, that a natural buffer be maintained to the maximum extent possible, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that the Division of Planning be provided with contract abstracts with customers within 30 days of execution, that the pods must be removed within 6 months of North Bay Properties' contract end date with its customer, and at such time zoning will automatically revert back to A1 agricultural, that the development is subject to a development agreement between North Bay Properties and the police jury outlining the conditions of approval for rezoning and future exception, as well as any mitigation measures identified by the TIA and the DIA, and shall include Target Logistics' guest code of conduct, which can be amended upon mutual agreement, and that an 8-foot conventional dog-eared wooden privacy fence be placed around the perimeter of the property.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. If the applicant is present and you would like to speak on your behalf, you may come to the podium at this time. Okay. Any questions or comments by the board? Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 14 passes. Item 15, take appropriate action on case RZ03-022-16, a request by Prairie Land Company to rezone from light industrial to recreational vehicle park to allow a recreational vehicle park 196 spaces at the south end of Lake Street in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with stipulations.
So moved.
So, first, motion by Ms. Cobb. Need a second by Ms. Brown. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in South Lake Charles and encompasses 15 acres of land. If the rezoning is approved, the land would be sold to Robert Schultz, who will construct the RV park in 3 phases. The park will have an office with showers and laundry facilities. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward, that a drainage impact analysis and a traffic impact analysis may be required, that the use must be screened in accordance with Section 26-50 of the Parish Code of Ordinances, and that RV park model types are prohibited.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. If the applicant is present and you would like to speak on your behalf, yes, sir. Okay. All right. Any questions or comments by the board? All right. Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 15 passes. Item 16, take appropriate action on case RZ04-025-16, a request by Western Real Estate LLC to rezone from mixed residential to heavy industrial to allow a temporary workforce housing facility pending future approval of zoning exception at 2751 Bayou Den Road in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Coach Williams and a second by Ms. Dickerson. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located south of Sulphur and encompasses nearly 5 acres. It is part of a larger tract of land, approximately 17 acres in size, but the larger portion of the tract is already zoned heavy industrial. If the rezoning request is approved, the petitioners will come back before you next month to request a zoning exception to allow a workforce housing facility. The facility would be constructed by Lake City Lodging in 3 stages. At build-out, the facility would consist of 650 beds and nearly 160 structures, an office, kitchen, recreation area, and over 650 parking spaces. The proposed development will provide a consolidated location for workforce housing. It is a sustainable type of development and will prevent overbuilding of more permanent housing structures. Because the development will be temporary, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments, that a DIA and a TIA must be submitted and approved by the Division of Planning and the Division of Engineering prior to permitting, that the rezoning is for Western Real Estate and Lake City Lodging and is non-transferable, that a landscape plan must be submitted, that a natural buffer is maintained to the maximum extent possible, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward, that the Division of Planning and Development be provided with contract abstracts with customers within 30 days of execution, that the pods must be removed within 6 months of Western Real Estate or Lake City Lodging's contract end date with its customer, and that the development is subject to a development agreement between Western Real Estate and Lake City Lodging and the police jury outlining the conditions of approval for rezoning and future exception, as well as any mitigation measures identified by the TIA and the DIA.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. If the applicant is present and you would like to speak on your behalf, you may come to the podium at this. Okay. All right. We do have a blue card. Ms. Pam Davis, if you would come to the podium and state your name and address, please.
I'm Pam Davis. I live at 3015 Bayou Den Road. I'm just worried about the man camp. My home is 3/10 of a mile from where they want to do this. I'm worried about security. Never had anything like this around. We've lived with the construction and all. In fact, the whole road is now bought out by different industries or shell companies or whatever. So my house is the first house you come to from the end of the road. And like I said, I'm just worried. What about security? What am I to face? And then you're saying it's 600 and some out beds. That's a lot of people. I just bring my objections before you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Any questions or comments by the board? If the applicant would like to come to the podium and address any of the concerns brought forth by the opposition, you may come to the podium at this time.
Hello, my name is Margaret Mitchell, and I will be speaking on behalf of
Your address, please.
2751 Bayou Den Road, speaking on behalf of Western Real Estate, LLC. In regards to the ladies' concerns, I am with Lake City Lodging, the partner with Western Real Estate, and the developer for the site proposed today We have taken into consideration a lot of the concerns that would generally be proposed in a situation like this, and have, we feel, come up with adequate solutions to prevent security concerns, as well as we have formed our business model to adapt to more of a hospitality format rather than a sterile lodging facility typically experienced in development areas like this. We have been in operation for 6 years under the name of Mesquite Logistics in Texas, and operated 2 lodges of similar size with the centralized theme of hospitality for the workforce environment. We consider ourselves hoteliers as opposed to wardens of camps, and we pride ourselves on the low incident rate and sense of community that we bring to our facilities. So that's what I had to offer.
Any questions for Ms.
I
Cobb?
have one question. Do you build your facilities as they are filled? Or
No, ma'am. Well, our plans are to move forward regardless of contract, but we currently have boots on the ground in the area securing contracts, and we don't feel that there'll be any need to slow production. Actually, we feel that we probably will have more requests for housing need than we can provide according to our submission for our plans.
Any other questions?
So basically, all your residents will be contracted from one of the
Yes.
suppliers in the area. It won't be an individual being able to rent rooms.
Correct. We work on a business-to-business basis and do large contracts with the corporations directly, and require that they sign a conduct contract. Basically, any disturbances in our facility would reflect, would be reported back to their company and reflect in termination from the company.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms.
So your
Cobb.
buildings are not temporary buildings?
Yes, ma'am, they are. They're a new style of development being engineered out of Canada. We've had success using this model in other areas in North America, and this will be the first time we bring them to the United States. They are temporary in the sense that they are movable onto a roll-off truck, if need be, using a forklift. They're completely separatable and modular in the sense of construction. Key components are built elsewhere and then developed on site. So everything from the roofing to siding, landscaping is all contracted here in the area and constructed on our site.
Ms. Brown?
You mentioned security.
Yes, ma'am.
I wonder what means of security are you talking about?
Yes, ma'am. So the full 17 acres will be fenced, and then there will be 2 points of egress that will have double security gates manned by a outside security company from the area that we will contract, and there will be round-the-clock patrolmen, I guess, on the facility, and that is done, we outsource that, so it is to the area standards. They're operating here in the area already, and we're in contract negotiations currently.
That's 24 hours.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, ma'am. You may be seated. Any other questions or comments by the board? Ms. Christie, if we could do a roll call vote.
Mr. Little,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Galicia,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Cobb,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Dickerson,
Yes.
and Mr. Navarro.
Yes.
Item 16 passes. Item 17, take appropriate action on case RZ03-026-16, a request by Billy Van Winkle, Jr., to rezone from manufactured home park to recreational vehicle park to to allow a recreational vehicle park, 20 spaces, at 2776 Old Town Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Navarre,
Second.
a second by Ms. Cobb. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located north of Lake Charles and encompasses nearly 2 acres. If the rezoning is approved, the petitioners plan to remove the existing home to facilitate construction of the RV park. The petitioner's shop, which is located on the adjacent property, will serve as the office for the park. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward, that a DIA and a TIA may be required, that fencing must be provided in accordance with the included fencing plan, and that RV park model types are prohibited.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. If the applicant is present and you would like to speak on your behalf, you may come to the podium at this time. Okay. Mr. Gabb, we do have 3 cards in opposition.
And, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Duhan is going to speak on behalf of all 3. The others have ceded their time to him.
Okay.
Mr. Duhan has requested 4 minutes.
Okay. At this time, Mr. Rodney Duhan, you may come to the podium, state your name and address, please.
Name's Rodney Duhan, 2939 Old Town Road, Lake Charles, Louisiana. We already have right next to them on 2653 Old Town Road, Old DeRitta Road, is trailer parks, as you can see. We've had already, I got with the sheriff today, and they gave me a list. They had 159 calls total for 2014, had 56 calls out there. 2015 had 78 calls, and 2016 we've had 25 calls for a total of 159 disturbances in the trailer park. And as neighbors in that area, we are really concerned about having another trailer park or RV park or whatever in that area. We just against it. We have, you know.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Duhan?
Mr. Duhan,
Coach?
those calls, were they identified as to
Drugs
mostly drugs or
and break-ins, car break-ins.
thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Duhan? Thank you, sir. At this time, if the applicant would like to come and address any of the concerns presented by the opposition.
My name is Carlton Van Winkle. I'm at 2599 Old Highway 171, Lake Charles. I'm also have the same concerns this guy's talking about because I own the existing property just north of it, and we've had things stole from us. And I know what he's talking about this trailer park. And but I want to assure these people that opposed to this that we plan to fence this property, make it very nice, and not just anyone is going to be able to come and park their RV at my park. I plan to screen people because we want the upper class people because I want to make it nice. And but I understand his situation there, and we just last week had a motorcycle stole off of my property adjacent to it. And I understand everything, but I just want him to know, people, that we plan to make this very nice and do our best.
All right. Any questions for the applicant?
Yes.
Ms. Cobb?
What type of fencing are you going to place on the property?
We're going to have a 6-foot wooden fence all the way around it. And I do plan to put a nice gate that people can come in, and it'll be a remote.
Mr. Navarre?
Is this a manufactured home park now?
Yes, sir.
It's a trailer park?
It's already a trailer park. And
Are you gonna get rid of all the trailers out of there?
Oh, no, there's nothing there. There's an old house there which will be demoed, and that was I think, stated in the agenda there. And everything's going to be removed, and then we'll build up from there.
It's currently zoned mobile manufactured
Mobile,
home,
okay.
Mr. Navarre, but there's no, it's
But there's
not
no mobile
op-
home, there's no mobile.
No,
homes.
sir,
How long,
there's
how long
not.
how long has it been since there's been any mobile homes here?
I think it was like 5 years,
They had one there about 4 years ago.
4 years? Yeah, maybe 4 years. But
Just
there's,
one mobile home.
yeah. But it had 20, I think 20-something spaces. I'm not real sure, but
So,
For
correct me
mobile.
if I'm wrong. If we don't let him convert this to an RV park, he can still park mobile homes there? So
Yes,
you'd
sir.
be better off with an RV park than.
oh, definitely,
than a mobile home
definitely.
park.
That's,
no comments from the audience, sir. I didn't stop you the first time, but
Okay, that's all I need to know.
good point. Mr. Smith? Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. You may be
I
seated.
got one question.
Go ahead,
Mr.
Coach.
Van. It seems to me from the opponents that the main problem is that number of times that the sheriff's department has been called for disturbances and what have you. You mentioned drugs. Now, at the RV park, you're gonna revert to the RV park. What means of screening you gonna have to eliminate the problems that they previously had in it?
Well, I guess there are different means of it. I really can't tell you exactly what I'm going to ask people in an application. They will fill an application out. I'm going to ask, for one thing, their work history. I'm going to run some form of security over them and check their background security. I guess that's about really all I have.
I don't want to make a rude statement, but it seems to me if I was doing it and they get one complaint after you give your restriction, then you got to go. If they
Yeah,
call the
from
sheriff's
my trailer
department
park,
out
yes,
there
sir.
for a complaint and it's against your, your policies, then I'd have these people removed. I'm just
Exactly.
suggesting some things that seem like it would be comfortable for the resident.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. You may be seated. Any questions or comments by the board? Any discussion? Ms. Christie, let's do a roll call vote.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Navarre?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes?
Ms. Dickerson?
Yes.
Ms. Galicia?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
And Ms. Cobb?
Yes.
Item 17 passes. Item 18, take appropriate action on case RZ 04-021-16, a request by Joseph Laurent to rezone from agricultural to general commercial to allow commercial development boat service at 6588 Oak Lake Drive in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Coach Williams,
Second.
second by Ms. Cobb. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in Carlos and encompasses nearly 5 acres of land. However, only the south acre and a half is included in the rezoning request. The petitioners live in the house on the northern portion of the land. They would like to construct a 30-foot by 30-foot building to be used for boat motor repair. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, that the use is limited to a boat motor repair shop, that the rezoning is for Joseph Laurent and is non-transferable, that the hours of operation be from daylight to dusk only, that Sunday operations are prohibited, and that outside storage is prohibited.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Mr. Gabb, we do have one card in opposition. And at this time, if the applicant is present and you would like to speak on your behalf, you may come to the podium at this time. Okay. All right. Ms. Peggy Sullivan, you may come to the podium and state your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Peggy Sullivan. I live at 6707 Oak Lake Drive. I live south of this proposed rezoning. First off, I want to say, hey, Coach, glad to see you again. And Art, you're telling your age again. No, it's you. I want to change, I don't know, this is the first time I've ever done this, my opposition to this rezoning, because I talked to the owner outside just a few minutes ago, and I really wanted to thank the staff about your stipulations that you added to this. I think that's really nice because it really had a lot of my concerns. And but anyway, I just wanted to tell you that I feel really confident in this, the man that's going to do this boat, and he assured me that he's not going to be selling boats and having them all stacked out there. And you did close the door that if he ever does close this business, it will not be commercial, because that's one thing I like about Oak Lake Drive and Moss Lake area. We have that. That's residential. It's in one way in, one way out, and I really appreciate keeping that residential and leaving the heavy industrial to the north of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan, and good job, staff. Any questions or comments by the board? If the applicant, there wasn't really opposition, but I give you one last opportunity. Okay, you're good. Any discussion by the board? Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 18 passes. Item 19, as Mr. Guillory mentioned earlier in the meeting, that case RZ 04-023-16 has been withdrawn. Item 20, advised that the police jury took the following action on April 21st, 2016, with reference to the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board from the April 19th, 2016 meeting. The applicant, Trahan, at Auger Road, we passed and the police jury upheld. The applicant, Osprey Lakes, at Big Lake Road, we passed and the police jury upheld. Applicant North Bay at Highway 90 West, we passed and the police jury upheld. Shapkoff, applicant at Opelousas Street, we passed and the police jury upheld. Applicant Watt at East Houston River, that item was withdrawn. Applicant Simon at Alligator Park Road, we passed and the police jury upheld. Applicant Smith at Nelson Road, we passed and the police jury upheld. Applicant Cole Langford at Ravia Road, we passed, police jury upheld. Applicant Manuel at Highway 3059, we passed and the police jury upheld. The applicant Harper at Ravia Road, we passed and police jury overturned. Applicant was the amendments to Chapter 26. We passed and the police jury upheld. Item 21, advised that the next regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning meeting will be held on Tuesday, June 21st, 2016, in the police jury meeting room. Item 22, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Dickerson. We are adjourned.
No.
Overruled.